Well, here with us now to talk more about Haley's chances as well as the GOP race at large. We bring in Julia Manchester, national politics reporter with our partners at The Hill. Julia, thank you so much for your time. So we just heard from Emily there. Do we know why there is this now sudden surge in not only voter support, but also this big donor support for Nikki Haley?
Yeah, Nicole, I think a lot of this has to do with Haley's strategy. And that strategy has always been to focus on these more intimate campaign gatherings, get that face time with voters, and do as much retail politics as possible in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. She's very much had this strategy of sort of, slow and steady wins the race. And we are definitely seeing that paying dividends for her. I think you're also seeing a lot of donors watching the past three debates and seeing that Haley has performed very well in them, and that they look at the support that she's gained since the debates in the polls and see that she could possibly be the top viable Trump alternative. Now, this endorsement from Americans for Prosperity could be emblematic of that, because we see that this endorsement is not just sort of a praising Haley thing. She's going to get access to a vast network of resources from AFP and its affiliated grassroots organizations. That's going to be a major boost for her campaign. That being said, though, you have people on DeSantis's side of this saying, look, he's got the endorsement from the governor of Iowa, Kim Reynolds. He's got Bob Vanderplaats, an influential evangelical leader of Iowa, his endorsements as well. And they're saying if he wins Iowa, that's going to be enough momentum to get him through New Hampshire and South Carolina. But at the end of the day, Nichole, as Emily mentioned in her hit just there, Haley and DeSantis are very much locked in a battle for second place. Donald Trump is still dominating this primary.
Yeah, he certainly is. So talking about the former president, Donald Trump, he's facing numerous charges. He is the subject, of multiple cases, multiple investigations. But why does the GOP establishment, and when I say that, I mean like these big money donors, seem to now be, anti-Trump, when Trump is certainly a man who we know is very pro-business and everything that comes with that, and the majority of the party is still behind him?
Right. So I was talking to a Republican strategist yesterday, and he essentially said to me, look, this is the first time I've seen such a big disconnect between the donor class and the grassroots. And you are seeing much of the donor class rally behind Haley, whereas you see the majority of Republican primary voters still falling in line behind Donald Trump. Now, Haley supporters would say that with these resources, she'll be able to make her case to a broader audience that she is the top Trump alternative. But at the same time, though, it's going to be a tough hill for her to climb. Donald Trump is essentially, in a way, an unofficial incumbent, being the former Republican president. He has the best name ID. We talk about these legal cases against him, but in a way, that's free media attention for him that he and his campaign have been trying to use to their advantage. So it's going to be difficult, I think, for Haley and her team to get over that. I think we're seeing her rise to second above DeSantis in a number of polls. But the question now is, how can you take on Donald Trump, who is leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the field?
Absolutely. Let's bring up that graphic there that had the numbers, that had the candidates with the numbers, because, I just want to take a close look at that, because, again, right now it does seem to be, there it is, this race for second, with Trump there at 46, Haley at 19%. If, she is somehow able to eclipse the former president, Donald Trump, how does that change things for the Biden campaign? Because she would certainly be a very different opponent than Donald Trump.
Well, I think it would make the Biden campaign very, very concerned. I mean, I think there is certainly concern on the Biden campaign's part right now. We are seeing Donald Trump beating Biden in a number of polls, recent polls, but we have consistently seen candidates like Nikki Haley consistently beat Joe Biden in a head-to-head matchup. You're also dealing with a very different kind of candidate, like you said, between Haley and Donald Trump. Haley does not come with the same baggage that Donald Trump comes with. She is a new generation. She's a woman. She's a woman of color. She reaches out to a group of voters or groups of voters that traditionally haven't been as friendly towards the GOP. So it's going to be a very different battle if Haley ends up winning the nomination. nomination. But that's a big if, because Donald Trump simply seems to be the favorite right now. And we were looking at that poll in New Hampshire. She is second in New Hampshire, but we have to remember Ron DeSantis is still holding his own in second in Iowa, even though he's starting, it seems like he's tied with Haley. So two very different states, two very different Republican electorates, but whatever happens in Iowa could have an impact on what happens in New Hampshire.
Absolutely. And it's always interesting to see how those numbers kind of shift. But at the top, they certainly seem to stay the same. All right, Julia Manchester, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.